but not too much unusual. The most, I guess, wild element of his deck is the fact that he has 10 temples, which he does have the minor black splash in the sideboard of Dark Betrayal and Thoughtseize, but 10 with such a tiny splash, it's definitely, he is serious about the library manipulation element of it as well.
So Erik Finnegan, he's on your right-hand side. He's playing Naya Aggro, creature base of Experiment 1, Voice of Resurgence, Fleece Mane Lion, Gore Clan Rampager, Witch Stalker, and Boon Satyr alongside Selesnya Charm and Advent of the Worm. A slight hexproof kind of package here.
Exactly.
You see Witch Stalker alongside Rampager, one copy of Madcap Skills, and Ajani Call the Pride as well. So not as all-in as the Naya hexproof deck, but some light elements of that.
He's got just a hint of it, you know, just a little taste, a little something to wet the palate.
So Eric Smith, he starts off, he's your blue-white control player on the left-hand side. He starts off with a Temple of Silence. Erik Finnegan with a
Experiment 1 promo.
And an Experiment 1.
Yeah, that's an exotic Experiment 1. Where are those from?
I don't know. Maybe Friday Night Magic? I'm not sure.
That's sweet.
Looks like Erik Finnegan maybe went 4-1 at an F&M not that long ago. Pretty nice. Another Temple for Smith. He's going to put it on the bottom.
That's a lot of Boros Charms in his hand. And that adds up to 12 extra damage, right?
And also some protection potentially against Supreme Berg, too.
Oh, yeah.
Creature is backed up by Boros Charm is, in my opinion, one of the better recipes you can have against a deck like Esper. And he has a second copy of Experiment 1 and a tapped Stomping Ground. And naturally, Smith with the Detention Sphere to take care of the two Experiment 1s. Finnegan takes an untap here. He's going to draw.
Sacred Foundry. This puts Finnegan well into the range of casting anything in his deck if he has one more of any type of land. His colors are no problem.
Yeah, the most taxing thing on his mana base is Ajani, Call of the Pride, and Advent of the Worm, which he can now cast. And then a turn Boon Satyr here from Finnegan. That's going to be met with a Syncopate for 1.
Yeah, Naya's a strategy that a lot of people were talking about, you know, 6 months ago, but has kind of fallen off the map.
Yeah.
Why do you suppose that is?
I think the mana and I think the mono black devotion and mono blue devotion matchups are too tough.
Do you think mana confluence could be enough to help the mana issues?
Yeah, I think the mana issues are secondary to
it just matches up poorly against the devotion decks?
Yeah. So you see an end of turn Advent here from Finnegan. That's going to be hit with a Dissolve. And you can see Smith with Sphinx's Revelation in hand, so just trying to make his land drops and get to the game to that point. Finnegan with a Temple of Abandon. Looking at a couple Boros Charms in hand. The sequencing of his threats, he definitely was playing around certain things, but he ran right into the jaws of Smith's counterspells. Temple of Enlightenment, the draw for Smith.
Man, I remember not too long ago when the temples first came out, a lot of people were like, why are they rare? What? You know,
I was one of those.
Not fully appreciating the power of a scry.
Oh, my argument was never that they weren't powerful. My argument was that they were kind of lame rares.
I don't know. A bunch of lands that are better than shock lands. It's like...
in low power formats. Another Experiment 1 here for Finnegan. He's going to play Jace, Architect of Thought.
Another promo.
The old Jace versus Vraska, I believe. One of Magic's more storied rivalries.
Yeah, Jace and Vraska go way back. Jace, you may remember, used to work for Nico Bolas inadvertently and went around accomplishing special missions, occasionally erasing people's minds like he did to Chandra, and was kind of in a weird little feud. Tezzeret was his boss, but he ended up, you know, they kind of fought a little bit. Vraska, most notably, looks a little bit like Jace's ex-girlfriend, Liliana. On a bad day.
All of this and more, I did not know that you were such a lore expert.
Oh, actually, yeah, I'm big into the Magic lore. Magic lore is actually super sweet. The It'll be interesting to see what the Magic movie looks like when that comes out, because Magic's storyline has so much. There's a lot of cool characters, and it's always funny. Here we see a Boros Charm taking out Jace. It's always funny when you hear about different elements of the story and they involve characters that you're familiar with, because it feels kind of like you know Jace, you know Liliana, and so to find out things like, oh, those two used to date, that's like a whole thing. Chandra and Jace's relationship a little bit more fiery, an awful lot of pulling of the pigtails, rivalry, fighting, but kind of on the same side whenever Jace isn't kind of stealing important documents from her.
And then a turn revelation for 3 here from Smith. Finnegan just completely out of action, looking at a hand of just Forest and Boros Charm. Waiting to be put away. Temple of Enlightenment for Smith.
What do you think about the just sheer volume of library manipulation in Standard right now because of all these scry lands everywhere?
I think that it is excessive. Pretty low variance games, or it feels that way pretty often. I understand.
It seems to promote these two extremes, right? Like you've got these decks like Devotion to Black and Esper, which are being real big. And then you've got these real fast decks like Mono Blue and Mono Red.
You have to kill someone really fast. I mean, that's the way you can capitalize on them getting all those free scries.
Yep.
You have to make the fact that the land comes into play tapped a pretty substantial drawback.
Look at these mana bases. Why is nobody burning earthing?
I'm burning earthing.
Dude, burning earth would be so hot right now.
I'm burning earthing. Don't look at me. Patrick's got that on lockdown.
Hell yeah.
Elspeth, Sun's champion here for Smith. Finally has found a threat to wrap this game up with.
I bet Burning Earth is real good against Mana Confluence decks.
Yes, because it already implies that they can't cast their spells regularly and they're taking a bunch of damage.
Yeah, and you don't just play Mana Confluence in most of your heavy basic land decks.
Right.
I mean, maybe if it's like Boros would Mana Confluence,
well,
possibly.
There's a couple decks. You can imagine Selesnya or Golgari decks that are playing a couple copies of Mana Confluence, because the mana just kind of doesn't work otherwise.
All right, so Erik Smith takes the first game as Elspeth completes the job that the Sphinx started.
I like the concession there from Erik Finnegan there. Not a lot left to be done.
Yep.
All right, so sideboard time. Erik Smith, our blue-white control player, up a game. He has a Revoke Existence as a spell, a Pithing Needle, 2 copies of Blind Obedience, 2 Fiendslayer Paladins, 2 Dark Betrayals, 3 copies of Thoughtseize, a Jace Memory Adept, and 2 copies of Burmaz.
Absolutely.
I like a Burmaz here quite a bit. I had to imagine it's for matchups like this.
Yeah, I mean, like, Eric's not going to have very many answers. He doesn't have any answers in the main deck, so he's certainly not going to have that many answers after sideboarding.
He has no answers in the 75.
So he's got a couple things he can do. Outside of the slightly dubious Selesnya Charm Your Guy, then Selesnya Charm Your Guy
plan.
That
doesn't count. I don't count that. That's,
okay,
that's not an answer.
You don't count that?
No.
All right, there's also Boon Satyr.
Okay.
Pump My Guy after blocks.
Nice. Or Boon Satyr just ambushing it. Can ambush and just trade.
Yeah, Unflinching Courage can race. The life gain combined with the trample to trample over the chump tokens that it would make.
Unflinching Courage is fraught with its own sort of peril against a blue-white control deck, unfortunately.
Yeah, my guess is that Burmaz is going to be the king in this matchup.
Card that received a lot of hype when it got spoiled, really struggling to find a home in Standard. A lot of sideboard play. I mean, sees a fair amount of play there, but
and it gets played in a lot of tier 2 decks. The problem is that despite Burmaz being printed, neither Hero's Downfall nor Sphinx's Revelation have been banned.
Right.
So that brings us to the format, the world where we live now.
Do you think if Burmaz could trade in a point of toughness for a ban on Hero's Downfall that he would do it? Do you think he'd make that trade?
No.
He wouldn't?
Nope. No, not in the big picture. I mean, first of all, then he's susceptible to Bile Blight, which is what they already have also. But second, some number of people weren't playing Hero's Downfall. They're just playing these blue-white decks,
Sure.
And the fact that you're weak to those people, I think is too big of a weakness to give up your big strength. Like, the one thing he has going for him is his hard body.
Yep. And it's seeing some legacy burn. I mean, it's...
yeah. And modern, too.
Yeah, in a Lightning Bolt format, Burmaz is kind of the king. I saw a couple of Legacy Open matches where someone's got, Vial set to 3, a Caracas at play, and a Bramaz. Good luck attacking or blocking.
Doing it.
Yeah, good luck attacking or blocking.
Yeah, he hasn't really cracked vintage yet.
Very powerful off of Black Lotus. I mean, that thing's just in play.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good combination with Black Lotus. One of the tricks, though, is that, like, for instance, Bramaz doesn't race Blightsteel Colossus very well.
Not really. I mean, you are making a 1-1 a turn, but that's a little short.
Well, so the problem is that if you play the Bramaz first and then they play the Blightsteel, you don't really have a profitable attack.
Right, you can't attack that turn.
Right, and you have to block or you die, and then all you have to show for it is, well, I mean, one more turn before you're dead.
Well, you have the 1-1 also.
No, because it has to block the same creature Bramaz was blocked.
Oh, so yeah, you don't even get that.
Yeah,
wow.
No, this is a regular vintage interaction. This comes up a lot.
Yeah, that's rough then.
He matches up kind of poorly against Time Vault.
Sure.
Like in the straight head-to-head, he wins. But if you add like a Voltaic Key to Bramaz, you don't really get a lot out of it. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you add the Voltaic Key to Time Vault, you get to untap it.
Right.
Which has its own positive interactions, of course.
Maybe you could, once you had Time Vault plus Voltaic Key, then Bramaz would be a pretty effective way to win the game.
Well, yeah, he
would make so many tokens.
Yeah, he puts him on a pretty short clock, but the thing is, it's often academic in spots like that. Like, if you have, 20 or 30 turns, or all of them, then you can usually just win with whatever.
All right, Finnegan underway here. Both players keep 7. Temple Garden and Experiment 1. And Erik Smith has drawn the Bramaz, so we might be seeing the King show up in this match.
Yeah, no, I think he's going to be in real good shape unless Finnegan draws one of his Time Vaults.
Right.
Because, I mean, other than that, I don't think he's... What do you think of Witch Stalker, by the way?
I like it.
That's exotic, right? That's kind of a sweet little number.
Well, 3/3 Hexproof for 3 mana is already kind of priced to move.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Looks like Finnegan here has missed a land drop. Just plays another copy of Experiment 1.
Yeah, which means that we're at the part of the game where the Azorius Guild gets annoying. Voice of Resurgence, a real good play right now.
That is a great draw.
Yeah, and very wisely playing it pre-combat so as to play around the possibility of an Azorius Charm.
And again, contemplating what he wants to do here. Voice looks mighty attractive right now.
Absolutely. Talk about a card that's priced to move, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Voice of Resurgence is definitely a real nice one.
So,
any chance we'll see a cycle of the Azorius Charm?
We might. Smith also has the Last Breath in his hand. You may see him use the Last Breath on. It looks like he's just going to allow this all to happen.
I like it. It's pretty gangster.
And Smith untaps. No point in playing any of those instants.
Not now. Wow, doesn't play the Bramaz.
I think we might see a Last Breath on the Voice of Resurgence this turn.
Yeah, but I guess you don't, I guess he's concerned about Celestia Charm hitting his Bramaz, right? Like, because when he +2/+2s the Experiment 1 after blocking it, it's just, that now it's a whole thing.
Right. So Smith takes a slightly more conservative approach, just uses Last Breath on the Voice of Resurgence, plays a Temple of Enlightenment.
Erik with another Voice of Resurgence and a much-needed third land, which will turn Witch Stalker on next turn.
And red mana to boot.
Oh, yeah. This is, I mean, things are starting to turn up Finnegan. The Voice of Resurgence. Surely the line.
Yeah, comes equipped with some Supreme Verdict insurance already, so.
Yep.
See the Voice here. Experiment 1s do not evolve. They're already 2/2s. 4 damage comes across. The crowd wants to see Bramaz. That's what the crowd is demanding right now.
Give us the king. Instead, Erik scries again. He's got to know for sure. Is it time? It looks like it's time.
Bramaz, boom!
Now, here's a question for you. If you're Erik, if you're Erik Smith, if Finnegan attacks with his team, do you block?
I think if you're at 11 right now and looking to go to 5, I think you have to block no matter what.
The combination of like Boros Charm is so deadly, and if he's got Celestia Charm anyway, it's going to be real bad for you anyway. Interesting.
See momentarily, but Finnegan is hesitating. If you're Smith, you got to feel pretty good right now.
Absolutely. You don't just tank and then come out of the tank with, oh, by the way, kill you.
I don't know if I'd say that. I've seen that plenty of times in my day. But you have to assume it's less likely at least.
Yeah, but see, you know Mark Herberholz.
Just attacking with voice. Bramaz will block and trigger.
Huh. What do you make of this attack?
He just wants the Voice of Resurgence to die to evolve the Experiment ones.
Huh.
That's my take.
And then he's got Boon Satyr in his hand, so he'll have 4 different 4-power threats next turn?
Yeah, I think that's what we're seeing here. So that voice token's going to come to play as a 3/3. That's going to evolve the Experiment ones. They are now 3/3s.
One of the SCG tokens that has put in an awful lot of work in these feature matches.
Do you have an Irwin token?
Yeah, a little bit more common than the giant baiting token.
Smith debating what he wants to do here.
Because it's possibly just wants to attack first. You know, it depends on how greedy he is. If he thinks there will only be a double block, the Azorius Charm in his hand could be, you know, part of a big blowout.
It is some risky business.
Oh, yeah. Looks like he's concluding it is not worth it. No. He went, oh, that was so close. Here it comes.
All right. This would be a really good spot for Boon Satyr. So here comes Bramaz and Bramaz's token.
This is some pretty aggressive cat attack here. This is like, I mean, he needs a lot to go right with this.
Yes. Although he is a bit behind, there is an argument for just hoping that Finnegan messes up the blocks.
That's fair.
It looks like Finnegan's pushing everything in front of Bramaz. There's an Azorius Charm on the token.
A Boon Satyr would be real good right about now.
There is Boon Satyr, as predicted. So assuming Finnegan remembers his triggers here, that's going to give both of these Experiment ones up to 4 4s, and now Bramaz kills nothing.
This is where you kind of wish that you had Azorius Charm the Experiment 1 on top of the deck.
Yeah. Now Smith is going to follow all this up. A copy of Blind Obedience. Not really at its best in this matchup. Not a lot of haste threats in Finnegan's deck.
Right.
Temple of Triumph for Finnegan. Gonna leave it on top. And here comes a big attack. I mean, this is lethal coming across right now. Smith on 11, 12 coming across.
And the tough spot here, the tough thing is that this is going to knock Erik to 3, which means that even a Supreme Verdict doesn't do it because both Experiment 1s will regenerate, and Erik will go up to 4, but he'd be facing lethal anyway. The Tension Sphere, not quite enough either. Also going up to 4, and even though it deals with both Experiment 1s, does not stop the Boon Satyr.
It's possible Finnegan was still supposed to deploy one more threat that last turn because of Elspeth.
Right.
We'll see momentarily. I mean, I don't think Smith's hand is really equipped to handle everything that's in play right now.
Yeah, I think he's just checking to see if there's something he's missed.
So there's a detention sphere and an extort trigger. That's going to move Erik up to 4. Targets the experiment 1.
Looks like we might be on the hope he doesn't attack with the Boone Satyr plan.
There's an end of turn Skylasher.
He does get the extra info. Now he knows that Skylasher is part of Erik's sideboard plan.
Yep. But Finnegan does take down the second game there. We're going to game 3.
Hey, let's take a look at their sideboards. Finnegan has 4 Skylasher as his primary sideboard plan in this matchup. I mean, we joked about the unflinching courage, but I don't really think that's what the blue-white matchup is about. I think that mostly we're just going to, I think Skylasher is basically the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, there's an off chance he brings in Madcap skills, but again, I just don't think the creature enchantments are where you want to be in the matchup.
Sure.
So
Erik Smith, on the other hand.
Will a Revoke Existence as a spell, a Pithy Needle, 2 copies of Blind Obedience, 2 Fiendslayer Paladins, 2 copies of Dark Betrayal, 3 Thought Seizes, Jace Memory Adept, and 2 copies of Bramaz. We saw one of the Bramazes there. That game was not that effective against Finnegan's multiple experiment ones. I'm a little interested to see Blind Obedience again. Finnegan's deck, not a lot of range and not a lot in the way of haste. Actually, no haste in this deck.
Right.
Not really the best suited matchup for Blind Obedience.
Do you think it's possible that he just misjudged what kind of a deck Finnegan was playing and thought that it was a little bit more Stormbreath Dragon, a little bit more aggro-oriented?
Maybe. I mean, you saw a bunch of Boros Charms. Let's go back and think about what we saw in game 1 there. We saw
3 Boros Charms and a couple of cheap creatures.
A couple of experiment ones. Not unreasonable to guess there could be some sort of haste action going on.
Yeah. I really like Dispel in this matchup. I hope he brought the Dispel in. The ability to dispel Boros Charm, Celestia Charm, Advent of the Worm. I mean, obviously there's a lot of things it doesn't hit, but it's a real good way to spend a mana and to gain some much needed tempo.
Especially when the blue-white control deck is on the play, getting to turn 5 with Supreme Verdict plus Dispel backup is a reasonable path to take and is a very effective plan against what the Naya aggro deck is trying to do, which is present a board and then back it up with Boros Charm.
Right, plus sometimes you just, dispelling an Advent of the Worm the same turn you Detention Sphere to threat is a real nice turn 4.
Yeah. All that Smith really needs to do is keep his head above water because eventually Sphinx's Revelation or Elspeth carries the game.
Right, exactly. Now, what do you think of this mana base here? I mean, one of the struggles with the Naya deck is how do you deal with the fact that so many of your lands come into play tapped? And for Erik Finnegan, the answer has been, whatever. You know, he's just playing 8 temples anyway.
Yeah, you're sort of just priced into doing this. This is another mana confluence deck, that's for sure.
Now, is this deck fast enough and aggressive enough to actually play 4 mana confluences, or is this another, 1 or 2 mana confluence type of decks?
I think that this deck can play upwards of 4, in part because it has access to Unflinching Courage in the sideboard. So the matchup where you get the punish the most for having all of those City of Brasses is the one where you can get a life gain Haymaker in your post-board games.
Yeah, I mean, he even has Fiendslayer Paladin and Gift of Orzhova for extra life gain action.
Yeah, he's not messing around with what his plan is in the beatdown mirror matches. It's get an enchantment on a guy. So both players keep 7. Smith leads off with a basic island. Very rare to see the Esper decks lead off with just a straight basic land. Usually they have some sort of temple or hallowed fountain.
Yeah, particularly these blue-white decks that have 10 of the temples, which this does. Part of the way he's making room for it, though, is he cut Mutavaults so that he has 8 basic islands and 4 basic planes. He has a lot less non-basic action than most, with no Azorius Guild Gates and only 1 Mutavault.
So Finnegan just plays a Sacred Foundry on tap and says go. Smith with the basic planes.
A fairly offensive combination of basic islands.
Yeah, someone went raiding into the draft box before the tournament started. Someone was rummaging through the trash can of their local gaming store last evening, I suspect. The Celestia Charm token met with the last breath.
Finnegan with plenty of colors. All he's really needing is a 4th land, and he'll have everything in his deck turned on. Experiment 1 and Voice Resurgence. A nice little sequence.
Yep, trying to build up his board in such a way that he isn't ruined by Supreme Verdict. And Voice and getting Experiment 1 to a 3/3 is a very good base for that. Another last breath from Smith here. That's going to take out, I presume, the Voice of Resurgence. It does.
Smith ships the turn back to Finnegan. And it looks like Finnegan's got a relatively reasonable mix of lands and spells here. He's got, he's got a few more threats in his hand. He's trying to take it slow, though, so he doesn't just get blown out by a Supreme Verdict.
There's a Fleece Mane Lion. That's going to evolve Experiment 1.
Your personal favorite.
Well, there's no populate effects in his deck, so.
The nice thing about the Fleece Mane Lion here is that it's threatening to Monstrosity next turn and become a real serious threat.
Yeah, and the threat of that is going to warrant a Supreme Verdict right now. Finnegan goes ahead and regenerates his Experiment 1, so he's just down the Fleece Mane Lion. And you can see Finnegan trying to do what the Naya deck does best, which is advance his board, but not get ruined by just a lone Supreme Verdict.
Is this a main phase Advent?
It's a
Gore Clan.
Trying to hold back on the Advent. That evolves Experiment 1 yet again. Another Supreme Verdict from Smith.
See, one possibility was instead of playing the Gore Clan Rampager, just end step the Advent so that you can then untap, drop the Gore Clan Rampager, and just be straight back up to 3 counters for the Experiment 1 again.
There's just so many cards to play around in the blue-white deck. Yeah. Every line of play that plays around A gets ruined by B. Then again with just a land, and he sends the turn back.
Looks like Bramaz might be ready to party.
Smith also sitting on Azorius Charm, and he's aware of Advent. He may not be willing to tap out for the Bramaz this turn.
Yeah, he also has 2 Sphinx's Revelations, so it's very possible that he might want to cash one in for 2 life and 2 cards.
All right, so he just passes it back. Finnegan with an end of turn Advent.
You ever notice how much better Sphinx's Revelation is than Kiss of Amisha?
Yeah, it's quite. Well, sometimes you want to gain more life. That could be a thing.
Oh, definitely. But I think in general the Sphinx's Revelation is a little stronger.
Yeah, across the board. Kiss has its spots. So Worm gets in. That's going to be met with an Azorius Charm, which does not actually put the token on top. Here's a Fleece Mane Lion.
And this is actually going to be medium annoying for Erik. I mean, he doesn't have enough mana for that Elspeth, so this Fleece Mane Lion is going to go ultimate. It's going to Monstrosity, which is not the end of the world, but it's going to make things awkward for the next several turns because it's going to mean that Bramaz is going to have a harder time making tokens.
Here's a Revelation for 2 from Smith.
Fleece Mane Lion turning into a 4/4 indestructible hexproof. Very stoppable by Elspeth. Elspeth's -3 ability will not work. However, her ability to make 3 buddies will get the job done. Trump blockers for days.
So there's another land. Here's a monstrous Fleece Mane Lion, and it comes across for 4. Watch Wolf, we hardly knew ye.
Yeah, I think Fleece Mane Lion's a little stronger than Watch Wolf. Cat's even a more supported creature type.
Yep.
Yeah, the thing that's weird to me is that like Bramaz and Savannah Lion are the same creature type, but but a Watch Wolf and a Mad Dog are not.
I think we might be seeing a combo kill this turn. Finnegan just picked up a Gore Clan Rampager.
Oh, wow. Does he have Boros Charm as well?
Yes, I believe so.
He might steal this one.
He might steal this one.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's it. That's literally it, right? Like, that's 16, that's 16, that's 13 trample.
That's exactly enough.
He did the math. Well, hot dog.
Come on, Fleecy. There's an attack. There's a triple block.
He doesn't do it.
Elspeth's going to plus again.
Huh. So Elspeth makes 3 buddies. Erik Smith has access to Sphinx's Revelation now, which will give him the extra life cushion he needs to make sure that he doesn't die to the combo kill.
Well, there's still the risk. I mean, Finnegan still has live draws here, still has a Johnny, still has another Rampager, but has definitely made this troubling on himself.
White-bordered forest sounds about right now.
All right, there is a monstrous, and here's the Boros Charm. So this is a 8/8 trampling, hexproof, double striking Fleece Mane Lion. This is a rev for 4. That's going to push Erik up to 17.
So now he's at 2. And Elspeth is a whole problem.
Fleece Mane Lion doing what it can, but a lot of the other doors are getting shut right now.
Yeah, Finnegan now needs another Gore Clan Rampager or a Boros Charm or a Celestia Charm.
But Smith now with Dissolved Mana at the ready, trying to advance his board here. Plays for Maz.
He does have Dissolve, so Gore Clan Rampager is still real.
Depending on how Smith blocks.
Yeah. What is more real? Finnegan's chances of winning this game or Gerard Fabiano?
Gerard is the least real person that I know, so it has to be Finnegan's chance of winning this game. Another Fleece Mane Lion. The previous Fleece Mane Lion comes crashing in. This is a really tricky block for Smith, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things he could potentially have, but at the same time, you don't want to just spew. You know, you don't want to just lose value, just throw away value, because you're going to need those blockers in the future. What is the right amount to block with?
Because he has to block with so much to not die with the ramp to a Rampager here.
Right.
And once you're in this position where you're blocking with that much stuff, are you giving Finnegan so many extra draws?
Yep, it's a tough spot, no question about it.
So there's the block for Mazzle Trigger. And you can see he's putting 7 toughness in front of this Fleece Mane Lion right now, playing around the possibility of a Gore Clan Rampager.
Yep.
Finnegan tries to resolve another Fleece Mane Lion. Smith trying to decide if this is worth a dissolve. I think it's the last counter in his hand.
Yep.
The second Fleece Mane Lion is a little annoying too, but are you willing to drop your shields altogether?
Well, the problem is if you let the Fleece Mane Lion resolve, then you're no longer playing around Gore Clan Rampager. And he does dissolve it.
Takes a risk. He's going to scry.
So he is still playing around Gore Clan Rampager by sacrificing Boros Charm as a possibility for next turn.
Picks up an island. Does have the ability to go ultimate with Elspeth this turn. It is not a lethal attack.
Now, the nice thing about ultimating Elspeth here, though, is that a bunch of those tokens can soak up a lot of trample damage.
Here's a minus from Jace. Reveals Negate.
Negate is a big game. So that puts away Boros Charm as a line.
So now Smith has the luxury of trying to play around just Gore Clan Rampager.
Yeah, he is a mana short, he is a loyalty short on the Elspeth, so he's going to need one more turn, but he should be able to just go off next turn. Oh man, he misses the 1 free point of damage. One of his tokens has Vigilance. So sick. So Fleece Mane Lion gets in there. No, not the Vigilance token. No! Who chumps with the Vigilance?
And Finnegan does not appear to have a Rampager.
Yeah. Which means these 8 tokens are going to be game. That's exactly 24.
8 times 3.
This is the ultimate, and I can't go for it.
He has negate backup here.
Yeah, what could go wrong? Boon Satyr?
You saw Skylasher in a previous game.
Oh, yeah.
Skylasher could go wrong. There it is.
Packs it in. So Erik Smith wins 2 games to 1 with yet another Sphinx's Revelation victory on today.
We've seen a lot of it.
Oh, yeah. And it seems like this is a good week for the control.
Now, that said, it did seem, unless we had the life totals incorrect or something, that Finnegan did have the kill there in game 3 and just didn't see it.
It was a close one. And he saw it the next turn. I think it was just one of those, just missed it for a moment, you know, like shipped the turn and realized, wait a minute. Oh, no, these two combine.